St. Florian's Church. The church was built at the end of the 12th century. Legend has it that oxen pulling the cart with the holy relics of St. Florian came to a halt at the spot where the church now stands and did not move until it was decided that the church be built. The church was consumed by fire numerous times and was given its current form in the late Baroque style around 300 years ago. The relics of St. Florian and a Gothic reliquary which had belonged to a commander of the Teutonic Order captured in the Grunwald battle are stored in the treasury of the church.
He's gonna park too. You guys gonna have to back up here.
The history of Krakow. The name of the city derives from the legendary Prince Krak, who founded the town on Wawel Hill. The first written mention of Krakow by Spanish merchants who travelled the Slavic countries date back to the 9th century. The development of the town was determined by its convenient location on trade and travel routes. As early as the 10th century, a fortified castle rose up on Wawel Hill, which found its reflection in folk tales, like the story of Krak and Wanda. Two mounds erected in honour of the prince and his daughter are a tangible trace of this legend. In the first half of the 11th century, under the reign of Kazimierz I, the Restorer, Krakow became the actual capital of Poland. In 1320, Prince Władysław I, the Elbow High, was crowned King of Poland, and since then Krakow became the coronation place of Polish monarchs. The construction of fortifications surrounding the city made it possible to be successfully protected from frequent invasions and contributed to the further development of Krakow. Many magnificent buildings were erected, including Wawel Castle, St. Mary's Basilica, Sukiennice Cloth Hall, St. Florian's Gate, the Barbican, and many others, which can still be admired today. Krakow is a beautiful city where tourists can take a stroll, like princes and kings of past centuries, along the royal route, which begins at St. Florian's Gate, continues through the main market square, and along Grodziskie Street, with the splendid royal castle on Wawel Hill. This is a unique municipal park with a total length of 4 kilometers and an area of 21 hectares, encircling the old town with a green ring, the envy of other cities.
Beautiful.
The Planty was created in the 19th century in place of the demolished city walls. Previously it had been a marshy area where municipal waste was disposed. The park features many species of trees, flowers and shrubs, which not only look beautiful, provides a much appreciated garden-like atmosphere in the midst of the city. For many years, the Planty has been a location for open-air events and strolls. The city has the oldest institution of higher education in Poland, and one of the oldest in Europe, namely the Jagiellonian University. Krakow is also a place of work, a meeting place for outstanding artists and poets from all over the world, and a place for international scientific conferences and symposia. This city, which is over 1,000 years old, was the capital of Poland until the 17th century. The medieval buildings of the old town, some of which date back to the 10th and 11th centuries, have survived intact to this day.
Yeah, they're in a hurry. Get them all parked on the sidewalk.
Kazimierz. It once used to be a separate town, founded by Kazimierz the Great in 1355. In the 15th century, an autonomous district, Oppidum Judaeorum, was formed in Kazimierz, where Jews resettled from Krakow lived. The Jewish minority built synagogues and cemeteries and created a splendid culture, making Kazimierz the capital of the Jewish minority in Poland. The amicable coexistence of the Polish and Jewish cultures was broken by World War II and the Holocaust, destroying the material and spiritual heritage of Krakow's Jews. Nowadays, the district where Polish and Jewish cultures coexisted for centuries is fashionable, inspiring and popular. The synagogue was built in 1644 by a senior member of the Kazimierz Kahal, Isaac Jakubowicz, also called Isaac the Rich. The interior of the massive Baroque building is decorated with beautiful stuccos, probably made in the workshop of the renowned stuccoist Giovanni Battista Falcone. Legend has it that Isaac, the founder of the synagogue, was originally poor. One night he had a dream in which he saw a bridge in Prague and treasure buried beside it. Isaac made his way there, but on arrival it turned out that the bridge was guarded by soldiers. When he told one of them about his dream, the soldier replied that he too had a dream, in which he saw treasure hidden behind a stove in the house of a poor Jew from Krakow. The officer said he wasn't a fool to go so far because of a dream and laughed at Isaac. The Jew, just in case, decided to take his stove apart. How great his astonishment was when it turned out that he was that poor Jew from the soldier's dream, and that there was treasure behind his stove. Was before the war and still is a trading place. In the centre of the square there is a round marketplace building called Okrągla. The building was once a ritual poultry slaughterhouse. Trade flourishes here mostly on weekend mornings. There one can buy antiques and religious cult articles. The square is surrounded by original pubs and restaurants of a unique character. Eden and Chemna Street. We are now travelling along Chemna Street, which has been named Chemna, dark, due to the small amount of daylight that reaches it. On the street there is Hotel Eden, which houses an operating ritual Jewish bath, mikvah. The hotel restaurant serves kosher dishes. The hotel is an example of an adaptation of contemporary infrastructure to the needs of Jewish tourists coming here from all over the world. Standing in Poland, which was probably built at the beginning of the 15th century. Writing on an original collection box reads 1407. For centuries, the synagogue was a religious and administrative centre of the Kazimierz Jewish community. It survived a few fires and was rebuilt several times. A thorough restoration carried out at the beginning of the 20th century gave back its Renaissance character, created by architect Matteo Gucci in the 16th century, the Schindler's List. The Wolf Popper Synagogue. The synagogue was founded in 1620 by one of the wealthiest merchants in Krakow, Wolf Popper, nicknamed as the Stork for his ability to stand on one leg when lost deep in thought. Popper's name was widely known in the European merchant circles. Einstein, founder of the cosmetic empire, was born and grew up. After graduating from university in Switzerland, Helena moved to Australia, taking with her a few jars of face cream prescribed to her mother by a doctor. She started successfully selling a cream made according to that prescription and 2 years later, she opened the first beauty salon in Paris. Helena Rubinstein is considered one of the richest women in history. By a wealthy Jew from Regensburg, Israel Isserles Auerbach. The name of the synagogue derives from the name of the founder's son, philosopher Moses Isserles, also called Remu. He was the rabbi of Krakow and an outstanding world-famous codifier of the Ashkenazic law. A Hebrew inscription on the gate reads, "The New Synagogue of the Remu, of blessed memory." Burials were made here in 1552. There are graves of famous Jewish rabbis here, including Remu himself, who is believed to be a miracle worker. Jews make pilgrimages to his grave and lay pieces of paper with written requests around the tombstone. During World War II, Nazis turned the cemetery into a waste dump. Fortunately, prudent Jews managed to cover most of the graves with soil, which protected them from being destroyed. The Gestapo prison. In 1939 to 44, a building at 5 Wąska Street was being used by the Nazis as a temporary labor camp, where they kept thousands of Polish people who were then sent into forced labor in Germany. Nowadays, the building houses a secondary school. Buildings in Krakow. According to tradition, Kazimierz the Great decided to build on the marshes and taken back to the church from which it was stolen. King Kazimierz made vows that he would erect a temple there in the honor of Corpus Christi, Holy Body of Christ, financial and legal center, while the cellars of the building were used as a prison. The town hall was built in the 15th century, and then in the following centuries it was rebuilt in the Renaissance style. At the beginning of the 19th century, the town of Kazimierz was incorporated into Krakow, and the town hall was converted into a Jewish school, which operated until 1949. Since the end of World War II, the hall has housed the oldest ethnographic museum in Poland. Visitors can acquaint themselves with the life, customs and material culture of the people of the Krakow area and ethnic minorities. The synagogue was erected in 1860 to 1862 to a design by Ignacy Herzog. There are 2 black marble tablets of Moses set in the wall above the main entrance. The facades feature carved quotes from the Torah in Hebrew. The synagogue is also referred to as progressive because the prayers held there had a revolutionary character and were similar to Christian ones. Women were allowed to pray together with men, and sermons were given in Polish and German. All of this was forbidden in Orthodox synagogues. Half of the 17th century from the Kahal's funds. The north wall of the synagogue adjoins the preserved part of the city walls. The Krakow Ghetto. The Krakow Ghetto was established in 1941 as part of the Podgórze district. 3,000 Poles were resettled from the 20-hectare area, and in their place 15,000 Jews were crowded in. The number of Jews in the ghetto fluctuated and at times went up to 18,000. The area allowed for one person was 2 square meters. The ghetto was encircled with a high wall and could be entered through 4 gates. In Słoda Square, Podgórze Square, at the end of Lwowska Street, at the end of Limanowskiego Street, and the main gate at the junction of Limanowskiego Street and Podgórski Market Square. Half of the 19th century. The border of the ghetto and one of its 4 gates were located in the place where Podgórski Square intersects with Limanowski Street. Until the middle of the 20th century, the square served as a trading place. The town hall, with an abundance of architectonic and sculptural detail, was built here at the same time as the square. The finial of the facade features the coat of arms of Podhorze town, which in 1915 was incorporated into Krakow. The town hall, which was part of the ghetto, housed the headquarters of the Jewish community government. Yet in no way was it a continuation of the pre-war structure, but a body controlled by the Germans. West of the square there is an impressive church, St. Joseph's Church. The church was erected at the beginning of the 20th century to the design of Jan Sas Lubzicki. St. Joseph's Church is a spectacular neo-Gothic building with 3 towers and a dome stylized after the tower of St. Mary's Basilica. Above the entrance and in the corners there are statues of saints. The spacious light interior of the church perfectly imitates the Gothic style. The design includes a high central nave, 2 side aisles and 6 chapels. In the main altar there is a statue of St. Joseph, the patron of the church. At night, the silhouette of the building is beautifully illuminated. The Podhorze Pharmacy, the Eagle Pharmacy. This was the only pharmacy in the ghetto, which the Germans allowed out of fear of a typhus epidemic. From October 1941, it was open 24 hours a day. Its owner, pharmacist Tadeusz Pankiewicz, apart from providing Jews with medicines, also ran a contact box, a place of information exchange and shelter for Jews during arrests. 3 women from outside the ghetto, who worked at the pharmacy, served as an interface for the rest of the city. They distributed mail, organized medications, arranged for false identity papers that helped Jews to escape, and it is visited in large numbers by tourists from all over the world. The museum has also been included in the curriculum by the Israeli Ministry of Education.
One chair for every 1,000, I think they said.
The Ghetto Heroes Square. The square was the center of the Jewish ghetto during World War II. Here was the border. Facing the Vistula River, Ghetto A was on our left-hand side, and Ghetto B on our right-hand side. Here assemblies and selection of people took place. The square also witnessed cruelties which the Nazis performed on Jews. In its present arrangement, the square is a monument which commemorates its tragic history. The monument consists of a group of metal chairs of different heights. Its designers were inspired by stories of the Germans throwing furniture out of the windows of Jewish flats. The elusive character of this meaningful work of art is a challenge for tour guides, as it cannot be explained literally. Rather, it is a poignant and poetic tribute to the lives so tragically and cruelly ended there. 4 Lipova Street, there is a building where in 1937 the factory Record, then overtaken by Schindler, was opened. The new owner extended it and initially began the production of dishes for the German army, and later also cartridge cases for ammunition, fuses for missiles, and ballistic bombs. Nowadays, the building houses a branch of the Museum of the Historical City of Krakow, with an exhibition on Krakow and its dwellers during World War II, and a permanent exposition on Schindler and the history of this place. Here, Steven Spielberg realized the filming of his movie, in which we can see, among other things, the characteristic staircase leading to Schindler's office. It is also worth paying attention to the original gate. Those who have seen Schindler's List will certainly recognize it.